So I was planning to join a new server, and not surprisingly, like many, it led me to want to start designing a starter base, or at least a building of sorts. But I came to realize whilst building it the little purpose in joining a new server, even if it was designed for builders, when I'm pretty content and happy with the one I'm already familiar with, and I've enjoyed playing on for quite a while now. I finished designing the build, however, it just meant it had changed to having no purpose, as I was meaning to have it act as my storage room, something I already have on the current server. But anyways, I guess I just sort of followed the inspiration and it ended up feeling like a waste. And that could have been the end, but I realised that I couldn't care less about it losing its purpose. I racked my brain for a purpose it could be used for, and although it took quite a while, once I built what I could, I then got an idea which came at about the perfect time. So I just finished designing a church-like building. I wasn't expecting to build it on this world, however I think I probably will. I ended up choosing against building it in my single player world, as I want to make sure my focus is on this server. I've yet to figure out a spot for it, which is why I'm currently flying around. I still want to make sure it's close to the rest of my area, and I could even put it on this custom terrain, since I haven't detailed it yet. I also may put it over here, or somewhere else nearby. But before we build it in survival, I thought I'd show you my process for designing it. The first thing I needed to do was find some concept photos, which ended up being these three. Each one helped me with a different aspect of the build. As the build goes along, I always end up breaking away from the images, which you may notice. I may have forgot to start recording, so I have completed half the build, but luckily it was the easy section. I hadn't planned what to do for the sides, so that's when I got this concept art to use as some supports called buttresses, a common component and needed one in Gothic cathedrals. Next I added some arched windows that will eventually create a nice glow inside the build, and then added some buttresses, this time more to proportion and realistic than the others. One difficulty with working in this style is that many of the patterns, such as this circle, require multiple layers, which can lead to some pretty thick walls, because most of the time you then also need to make the outer layers on the inside for it to look like it makes sense, if that makes sense. It may seem like it, but I'm not trying to make this completely make sense to real life, which is why I'm adding some details like these. Many windows I have left open without glass, as the glass texture can get a bit distracting and I find that my eye naturally thinks there's glass anywhere. You may notice the block choices are a bit weird, but don't worry, most of them are just placeholders, so I don't have to worry about texturing it yet. This is what I meant as it being a starter base and storage room, so I'll be changing out the chest for something you'll see later. So aside from the texturing and full interior, it's finished. So I'm going to go back on survival and you can see the final texturing once it's built there. So this is the spot I planned to build the church, which wasn't a place I originally considered. I think I eventually want to expand over to that island, but I don't want a massive gap, so this is going to be my way of connecting to it along with other structures I'll build between. This does mean, however, that there is quite a lot of terrain to be made, an entire island exactly. Before I start the build, I will need to, however, gather a decent amount of materials. Most are easily obtainable, and I'll show the major ones. The longest part of gathering resources is just running around my storage room, getting all the blocks due to the variation. I am planning a build soon that will include a grass farm, because this one isn't very efficient. I also somehow forgot how to use it for about 7 minutes, but I eventually got it. Stripping wood is the most painful part of my builds, but I guess it has to be done. It's taken long enough that at least most of the copper has oxidized. Wait, one moment. And after the final trapdoor is oxidized and the material is moved, I finally have enough to start. not to use gravel in my terrain again. There are so many other blocks nearly identical. But I finally finished building the main structure, well, church, and I think it turned out a lot better than I was expecting. This is the first time I've built something like this, which doesn't really reach the height limit, and is also survival friendly. I kept the colour palette very minimal, using some granite and copper as accents, and making sure it all looks sturdy. You may also see that I've started texturing the terrain at the front, which I'll be completing at a later point, soon though. So I just did a bit to see what would look good and fit with the entire build. I used some spruce to break up the diorite, and speaking of diorite, it's the most underrated block, just saying. For the inside, I wanted the lighting to be on the darker side to draw the eye onto the stage or pedestal at the front. So all that's left is the interior, which I only figured out what to put inside while finishing building it in survival, so I'll go get everything I need for it. All the blocks I haven't figured out just yet. But just before that, I got distracted as I remembered I wanted to connect my base to the central path, so I made a temporary extension, and then got to the interior. So it's time to take a look at the interior. I've decided to make it a place to store my achievement progress. To the left are where the end achievements will go. Each section of the achievements tab has its own section, with the area in the middle being themed for the first tab. For each, I'll be adding a book with the title, description, way to obtain it, and if it's complete or not. I want every achievement to have its own block, however I'm not sure what to put for this one, since I don't want multiple for the same block. And on this pedestal I was thinking of putting the two most important ones, which I also haven't decided. For the outside I plan to leave some room for the husbandry achievements, so I can keep some animals to show them off. And with that, thanks for staying.